Hello everybody, my name is deadspace. Today I'm going to be discussing this new post that was actually made on the EVE Online forums, and that was made by CCP Fozzie about the Metaliminal storms that will occur in Null. So basically, I'm going to discuss this, tell my opinions on it, and also discuss about like what this could entail, if it's good or bad. And also, I'd really like you guys to also comment, what do you think about this? Do you think this is good for EVE or bad for EVE? So in short, what this is like, the lore behind it is that people have been running too much abyssal deadspace and doing manipulations with, filaments and filament technology and all that kind of stuff. So what happened is, as CCP Fozzie is saying here, that there's use of needle jack filaments has begun to cause unexpected side effects of the periphery of a New Eden star cluster. This is then causing random weather effects to occur, and it's specifically going to occur in nullsec. So weather effects, as you guys know, I discuss them all the time because I do a lot of abyssal content. So for example, the electrical storm, the firestorm, that kind of stuff where you get less EM resistance and like for example more armor, better capacitor, all these kind of abyssal weather effects. Basically, like these kind of effects seem to have leaked into known space, and it's kind of a cool thing, even just lore wise. I think that like abyssal deadspace is now having actual consequences on the real New Eden universe, and I think that's just a really cool thing in general. The whole concept, just really, I like it. So we go here and then look here what it's talking about, and there are many types of ones, and actually they add new features that not only like exist in the current weather effects, but they add like actually new effects that don't even occur in the abyssal filaments. How these weather effects work is they kind of work like a storm. So they'll be gradually moving every 24 to 48 hours, and they have like a center, like CCP Fozzie is talking here like a hurricane. So they have like kind of like a center, and then they have like a radius, I think, and then what happens is that this storm is then moving one gate at a time. The distance it travels every 24 to 48 hours is equivalent to like, I think one gate at a time. So it's like it travels, and then you can't exactly predict how it's going to affect you, because say you're living next door to this storm, the path this storm takes is random walking, like it has like completely random apparently, and it's also made to avoid coming in the same place twice. So it's going to be kind of random, and it'll kind of affect everywhere in the end, just random walking algorithm. And it just seems really cool that this is like something that could happen, and you're next door and you just hear, oh, there's a storm on the way. I think like it's really just cool to know that. But the thing that's even more cool is what this actually does, and we can see here we've got weak and strong variants, and these do different kinds of effects depending on how strong they are. So we've got the gamma ray storm, and the gamma ray storm is then the sites that exist in abyssal deadspace. So this is very similar. You get less explosive resistance, more shield HP, and it seems like the effects are not at all as strong as in abyssal deadspace, because in abyssal deadspace you have minus 30% resistance, minus 50% resistance, and minus 70% resistance. Here it's only 10 and 25%, and I understand why, because if this occurs in known space, you don't want to have too drastic changes, otherwise it's going to be like kind of chaotic. This is only just like a slight effect, and I can see why they want to do that, because they don't want to like completely stir crap up. They're going to be like really crazy otherwise. Suddenly all ships with explosive resistance go crazy, or suddenly all shield ships are going to be extremely OP, but it's only 25%. I think in abyssal deadspace it's plus 50%. So they're like a little bit lenient on the buffs, and I understand why. You can also see here we'll get some like nerfs to remote armor repair, so that's kind of cool. So how like the fleets, the compositions, they're going to completely change in these gamma storms, how they're not going to really have at all as efficient remote armor reps, and especially in the strong, like minus 90%, you may as well not even use remote reps and just use local reps. 50%, okay, maybe I think you could it would be viable to use remote ones, but definitely not here. And also it's really cool that you get better disruption and scrambler range, a bit both buffed to signature radius, so a little bit smaller, harder for missiles, so this will not favor missile based ships. Also in general all ships, all weapon systems, but especially missile ships. And this is also a really interesting thing. It changes how kind of anomaly sites spawn. You can see here, spawning extra rogue drone combat sites. And that's quite interesting, because it will also affect the PvE side of the game. I wonder if it'll affect the amount of normal pirate sites, for example Garistas, Sanchez, etc. I don't know if the more drone sites spawn, like I don't know if there's like a maximum amount of pirate sites that can spawn and then these kind of drone walls take over, but it kind of makes sense, because rogue drones apparently have been known to master filament, or at least possess some knowledge of filament technology, so they're able to go between known space and abyssal deadspace. So it makes sense that you get more rogue drones, especially in the strong storms. So then if we go on to the electrical stones, this is like electricals to how I, always run in the Abyss. I always run electricals because they give that sweet capacitor boost. And you can see it here. This is minus 25% capacitor recharge time. And this would probably seem as, oh wait, this maybe is enough. But actually, no, it's not enough because the recharge time is slower. This means that it recharges faster. Obviously, because less time, it means it's faster. So it's as CCP Fozzie has clarified here, it's a buff to capacitor recharge. And then you got obviously the EM resistance is less. And you got, this is also a really interesting thing, plus 25 virus coherence. So it's going to make the scanning, people who want to scan and do relic sites more, it'll be very easy for them to do relic sites. Honestly, this won't make much of a difference because usually when you're doing relic and data sites, you don't have much of an issue scanning or hacking the sites. You use more mainly to find the sites. That's the issue. And this will make it a lot easier to find them as well because you get a bonus to probe strength here. And this is really big right here. No cloaking. No cloaking because many people often complain how in nullsec people do something called cloaky camping. For you guys who don't know what cloaky camping is when some guy is just chilling AFKing in a system and then they're cloaked. No one can scan them, no one can find them, but they're obviously going to pop up in local and people are going to be afraid to undock and do something because they see that this guy is here, and well, if he's cloaked, he could maybe just warp to someone and sign or do a covert sign or just bring in somehow a fleet of friends to warp to him, and it's just all in all makes it quite dangerous or makes you scared to go out and do stuff because there's always a potential that this cloaked guy will come and kill you or get friends to kill you. And this makes it so no cloaking. So this removes cloaky camping, and it also makes other kind of things not viable. For example, stealth bombers will not be as good because they won't be able to cloak, but they still have really good damage capabilities, but it'll really change how covert ops fleets work at least. This is also something I think is really interesting when it comes to the hacking. Because the thing I do not particularly like about cloaking is that someone can just chill in a site cloaked and you have absolutely no way to really know if they're there, and then you just start hacking and then from nowhere he uncloaks and just kills you. That is really annoying, not at all that particularly fun in my opinion. It still adds to an aspect that you have to have a strong ship when you're exploring, but it feels very one-sided, and this is very interesting that it'll really favor explorers who want to go out and hack sites. And this is also extremely interesting that in the strong electrical one, we'll find extra relic sites, so even more sites will spawn and for you to hack. So let's go on to the next one. Plasma Firestorm obviously is the like usual, less thermal resistance, more armor, so buff armors, weapons. But this is interesting, more weapon damage. So I'm going to have high damage weapons here. And also it will not favor drones, so my ships that I usually use, Charistas ships, will not at all be as good. And also we see here, missile explosion radius is going to be worse, so it's going to be bigger, and we do not want to have a big explosion radius if we want to do a damage to small ships. So this is basically nerfing all the weapons I usually use, because I usually use Charistas ships. So this is basically making drone tracking speed worse, making missile fighter explosion radius bigger. Actually, it also affects turrets. So this also is affecting like non-missile ships. Okay, not just the ships that I use, but in general, it's going to be harder to do damage. But it seems like if you do damage, then it will hit hard because of the weapon damage. So basically, it's harder to apply damage, but if it hits, it's going to hit big. That's interesting. And this is also an interesting thing here because they don't seem to talk about this, but they're spawning Trilavian combat sites. So I wonder what kind of combat sites they're going to spawn. Maybe emerging conduits, maybe minor conduits, maybe major conduits. Who knows? And then you got the exotic storms, and there's the usual minus connector resistances, bonus to scan resolution. But then we have, it seems here, we get buffs to mining. So this seems to really favor you want to mine in these systems. You got less, the cycle time is a lot faster on the mining beams. And then you get less armor, local armor repairs and cycle times. So this is really interesting because then it'll promote people to use remote armor repairs more, I guess. And then you also have these plus 40% and plus 100% warp speed, so people are going to warp around really fast. And definitely this shows like the themes, you got plus extra ore anomalies. So it's like better mining speed, more ore anomalies. Then here, an all or nothing kind of damage type where it's hard to hit people with damage, but you do a lot more damage. Here it's kind of to favor people to hack a lot of sites. Here it really just wants to mess stuff up with the remote armor repairs. So all in all, I think this is really cool because you can get like really these like altered metas. So it kind of shifts what is the most efficient kind of tactic in different types of systems, and that's quite interesting because right now we've only had these kind of weather effects in wormhole space and also abyssal space, but when it comes to PvP, only in wormhole space. So you get these kind of like, you know, weather effects that affect some kind of thing, for example, make your ship go faster, but we've never had these affect nullsec, and that's quite interesting, especially considering right now there's a big war going on. So this really could potentially stir some stuff up and make the different sides to have to form new tactics around these weather effects, because definitely when it comes to, for example, the remote shield and armor repair, they're going to really have to rethink how they use their fleet compositions here, at least. And also it'll be interesting to see how people can earn money with the hacking and mining over here. So that was my opinions and going through what's going to be changing with these new metaliminal storms that occur in nullsec. I think it would be kind of cool if there was also a kind of weaker storm variant, maybe lowsec. That would be kind of cool. I think that, you know, you kind of have something going on there as well, just maybe not as strong as nullsec. And I just think in general this is really cool because it seems like it's really going to have people to have to like kind of rethink and adapt to certain environments, and it definitely doesn't seem to be just complete nerf. I mean, it also has good sides as well. For example, you can maybe be able to hack better, but then maybe bad at something else, so it kind of gets people to specialize in certain systems. In general, I just think this is really interesting, and I really want to see how this turns out, how this affects people, because I am actually in a corp, in an alliance that is based in nullsec, so we'll be definitely seeing what is going to go on, how this is going to affect them. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later.